Not one, but two beat-up cabinets and a crooked countertop I scored completely for free on local marketplace. The catch? I had to grab them fast. Within an hour, these pieces were in my yard ready for a second chance. While they're far from perfect, I'll tackle each flaw step by step and customize them to fit my needs. Looks like the cabinets had some part on top that was carelessly cut, leaving this ugly edge. To fix it, I use a palm router with a flush trim bit to smooth everything out. Since the cabinets are made of MDF, trimming them was easy. On the downside, controlling the dust was nearly impossible, even when following up with a vacuum hose afterwards. But now, the surface is dead flat and ready for the next step. The second issue was a design flaw in the cabinet's base. I couldn't get as close to the cabinets as I'd like, because my toe hit the bottom board. This 10 cm gap significantly limits how far I can comfortably reach the countertop. Right now, I can only reach about 1/3 of the surface without having to lean forward a lot. Definitely not ideal for long periods and a recipe for a back pain. The solution? A proper toe kick. After removing all the drawers, I flipped the cabinet on its back to inspect what modifications were needed. The simplest fix was cutting off the existing front and moving it lower. To ensure safe access for a circular saw, I first removed the old, badly worn out casters. Yeah, they'd seen better days and now went straight to the trash. I used a track saw to cut along the entire length of the cabinet. Unfortunately, the saw didn't reach all the way through the depth, so I finished the cut with a pull saw. Even then, I had to use a hand plane to even out the surface. Power tools are great, but there is something satisfying about the feel of hand tools and old-school craftsmanship. For the replacement part, I used construction lumber of the same dimensions. To ensure a snug fit, I marked and cut a notch using a bandsaw. After applying a solid bead of wood glue, I clamped the new piece securely in place. While the glue dried, I built a base from the same construction lumber to support both cabinets. This base serves for two purposes. It joins the cabinets into one solid unit and raises them by 70 mm. As a tall guy, those extra few centimeters makes a big difference, adding comfort and convenience while I work. Thanks to the newly made toe kick, I can now get right up to the cabinet. The added height also makes the surface more accessible and comfortable for my height. I can easily reach the middle of the countertop without leaning forward at all. Let's address the next obvious issue that annoys me the most: the drawer handles. Some are missing and the ones that remain look awful. I jumped into Fusion 360 and designed a recessed handle. After slicing the design in Bambu Studio with basic PLA settings, I sent the task to my newest workshop tool, the Bambu Lab A1 3D printer. It was already loaded with PLA filament, so after a quick preheat, the print job was underway. This printer has changed the game for me, printing at speeds up to 500 mm per second without compromising on quality. Plus, with features like auto bed leveling, active flow compensation, vibration resistance and nozzle pressure calibration, I can just set it and let it do its thing without worrying about print errors. The easily swappable high-temperature extruder can reach up to 300 Celsius, allowing me to work with various materials like PLA, ABS, PETG and flexibles, giving me a lot of flexibility in my projects. The print turned out great. I also 3D printed two additional components to help with the handle installation. Here's how it works. The handle requires a recessed slot in the drawer face to fit it properly, and these two extra pieces makes that process precise and efficient. The first piece attaches to the router and acts as a guide, allowing the use of a 14 mm straight router bit. Together with the second piece, it ensures a perfectly smooth oval cutout that matches the handle design. As always, I leave the STL files and other useful links in the video description. I started by marking the center of the drawer and aligning the blue template using its built-in adjustment spot. After securing it in place with clamps, it was time to make some dusts. I found that the easiest approach was to route the perimeter first. The material in the center remained intact, but could be easily broken away with a just light router push. That's one of the benefits of working with MDF. To finish, I smoothed the surface with one final clean pass. Now for the moment of truth, checking the fit. And yes, the handle fit perfectly. One down, 90 to go. While the process might seem complex, the template and simple mounting system made all the recesses come out perfectly. That said, even with a dust extractor, the routing still left quite a mess in the workshop. The router left nearly flawless surface, but the edges still had chipped oil paints that needed some attention. I quickly addressed this with the orbital sander and 120 grit sandpaper. The sanding not only smoothed out imperfections, but also prepared the surface for a fresh coat of paint. I selected a slightly darker shade by eye, which turned out to be very close to the original color. This worked in my favor since I only painted the drawer faces and other visible surfaces, leaving the interior untouched. The subtle color difference when the drawers are opened isn't very noticeable and saved both time and paint. This time I opted for semi-gloss paint, which offers better surface protection and a more modern look compared to the previous completely matte gray finish. Once the paint dried, it was time to assemble everything and mount the cabinets in their new location. I used short screws to join the cabinets together and long screws to attach them to the bottom frame. Now these three components have been fused into a single, solid piece of furniture. After installing the drawers, I turned my attention to choosing the handle color. Simply by looking in the filament spools wasn't enough to decide, so I 3D printed all the color variations from my available filament. While the bright colors and multicolors combinations looked appealing, I ultimately settled on a subtle bronze color for a more refined look. Now it's time to make 20 more of these. Bambu Lab did a fantastic job preparing the printer to be almost ready to be used straight out of the box. It took about 30 minutes to get it running. All you have to do is unbox it, remove the protective materials and secure two parts together with a few bolts. Then just follow the first time setup procedure on a touch display and you are good to go. Because of this, it is super suitable for beginners but also doesn't waste any time for advanced users. The multicolor unit called EMS Lite allows you to print up in 4 colors at a time. My favorite feature is that it can finish a print even if the filament runs out by automatically switching to the next spool on the EMS unit. This also makes it easy to use up small leftover filaments without any manual interruption in the printing process. Bambu Lab has created a fantastic ecosystem with its benefits. In addition to printers, they have a MakerVault site where you can discover a lot of models. The best part is that they are ready to print and can be sent directly from the web to your printer over your Wi-Fi network. No wires or SD cards needed. You can even do this straight from your phone using the Bambu Handy app. How cool is that? In case you need to adjust the print settings, Bambu Slicer is super intuitive to use with ton of features. I have to admit that the default printing presets works very well. Bambu Lab makes its own filaments, and with added RFID tracker, the printer already knows which filament is loaded and suggests the proper printing presets. Plus, those spools are reusable too. As always, the print came out flawlessly. After removing the handles from the supports, they were ready for gluing. I used a fast-setting construction adhesive suitable for all surfaces. A small, wavy line of glue along the recessed area ensured a strong and lasting bond. It is worth noting the money saved by 3D printing these handles instead of buying 20 new ones. Each handle will have cost at least $5, totaling around 100. Instead, I use about half a spool of filament, which cost only $10. Here's a quick comparison between old and new handles. My design is not only far more attractive, but also significantly more functional. They are much more comfortable to use. Now that the handles are done, let's turn our attention to the countertop. Remember that warped banana-shaped surface? Despite the warp, I was confident I could make it flat again and repurpose it as a work surface. After loosening the metalwork brackets, the countertop finally rested flat on a level surface. I started by cleaning it with a degreaser, followed by an all-purpose cleaner and a brush. The video doesn't quite capture its true condition, but the surface was more gray than white due to the layer of grime. It was clear that someone had used it heavily without maintaining it. The result speaks for themselves. White is white again, and I could not be happier. Since the countertop was too long for my cabinets, I shortened it using a track saw. The first shallow cut prevented splintering, and the second cut completed the job with a clean finish. Although this is a budget project, I could not leave the edge unfinished. I purchased a meter of ABS edge banding and glued it in place using contact adhesive. Tapping it with a rubber mallet fused the edge banding permanently to the countertop. I used a sharp blade to carefully trim away the excess for a smooth finish. With the edge looking as good as new, I was ready to mount the countertop on the cabinets. I positioned it so the front edge extends slightly beyond the drawer fronts. This way, dirt or small items would fall on the floor instead into the drawers, keeping the content clean. To secure the countertop, I removed a few drawers one last time to give myself enough space to screw in 40mm wood screws. By securing the countertop, I not only gained a large, functional work surface, but also created a valuable storage space in the drawers. Now, my next big task is reorganize my stuff to fully utilize this new storage. Here's a quick demonstration of how I might organize items using the Gridfinity system. It is a modular 3D printed setup featuring a base frame that sits at the bottom of the drawers, with a variety of boxes in different shapes, sizes, and functions that fit neatly in the frame edges. This is just a test setup, but I can already see its potential. It is modular, so I can rearrange it daily to suit my changing needs. And the best of all, everything stays in place no matter how many times I open or close the drawers. But let's save that for another video. To wrap up the project, I want to highlight that without a 3D printer, achieving these results would have been far more challenging, or nearly impossible. If you're a modern-day maker and haven't yet incorporated a 3D printer into your projects, I strongly encourage you to level up your making game and consider getting one. What do you think? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and until next time.